Caitlin and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be my May reading recap and my June TBR. Despite the fact that last month I was pretty good at reading a bunch of books, and by a bunch, realistically it wasn't that many, but more than I had been in the months before that, I kind of regressed a bit, and not in the sense that I didn't pick up any books during May, but in the sense that I didn't get through as many as I would have liked to. However, once you see the books that I did read, it will probably make a little bit more sense. So let's get into it. The first book that I read in May was The Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop by Takuya Asakura. And I am sorry if I butchered that name. I am canonically bad at reading authors' names. So anyway, I rated this book 4.5 stars on Fable. This was a very short book compared to what I'm used to reading, but it was still so full of incredible stories and really well thought out characters and an interesting plot as well. Most of the reading that I did in this book was in public, at a cafe or at a bookstore or something like that. And that was a mistake because I was crying during most of this book. It was very emotional to me. Specifically, the last story in this book really ties everything together very nicely, with a little bow on top. And I both felt like I was going to start sobbing and I was gonna throw up. So yeah. The next book that I read in May was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. And I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars on Fable. I am reading this series for the first time ever. And when I say that it has consumed my every waking thought, I mean that. It is so serious. I totally understand and can comprehend why so many girls on Book Talk, Bookstagram, those types of things are so deeply obsessed with this series and Sarah J. Maas's writing. It is so good. I am loving it so far. Genuinely, this book was everything I was hoping it would be and then more. And I just loved it so much. I am also now using the correct pronunciations of all of the characters' names, and I think that's kind of a telling sign of when someone becomes really into this series specifically, but definitely any fantasy series, that when they look up how each of the characters' names are pronounced just to make sure they're doing it right. If you watched my video where I reviewed A Court of Thorns and Roses, then you'll know that I was spoiled about one major plot point that was kind of not gonna be something that I could avoid as someone who is active on Book Talk and the book community online. Spoiler for those who haven't read the book, knew about the love triangle when it came to Feyre, and I was kind of anticipating that in this book. And now that it's been officially addressed and I kind of have a feel for all of the people in the love triangle and how their character personalities either contradict or complement each other, I am very happy to be able to continue the series now, not really knowing basically anything else about the plot, I think. I'm 98% sure that I don't know anything else about the plot of these books. So I'm very excited to read them now, completely ignorant of any future surprises. I also wanted to specifically say that I really liked the spice scenes in this book. And I'm not saying that because I was oh, spicy, even though yes, obviously. But I really liked them for this book specifically because I felt it was actually driving the plot forward. The spice scenes were never just, oh, let's throw in some spice right here. It was purposely put into the plot to progress the plot. And I feel like, especially as smut and spice becomes like more normalized, which is good, I think that some authors will just throw in a spicy scene to get people to even pick up the book. So it's really nice and really cool when a scene like that is very specifically put in to, like I've been saying repeatedly, drive the plot forward. Also, that one chapter at the end of this book where we switch POVs, I literally screamed. I got up out of my chair when I was reading it. I was like, oh my God, we're getting a new perspective. What's going on? I was so excited. And in case you didn't already guess it, yes, this is the book that took up most of my reading in May, because I'm really used to reading like contemporary romances where most of them will fall somewhere between 300 and like 400 pages max. And this one had over 600 pages. So this took up a lot of my reading time in May. And the last book I read this May was Passion Project by London Sperry. I rated this book 4.25 stars on Fable. I had a feeling very early on into reading this book that I would be relating to our female main character, Bennett, a lot. And I was right. I was so right. I actually talked about it a little bit in my last video that I posted about how I wanted to read this book so badly. And then I started reading this book and realized just how much I would be relating to the female main character. And that honestly made me not reach for it as much, which, if you don't know the context of this book, would make like zero sense. Because if you hear someone say, oh yeah, I relate to the female main character a lot, and then say, but I don't reach for it as much, you'd be like, why would you not reach for a book where you relate to the female main character in the book? Like, that's a little strange. However, with this specific scenario, the main character, Bennett, is struggling mentally with some stuff and feels very stuck in her life. And as a girl in her early 20s, I hear that and I relate to that on a deep, personal, spiritual level. So seeing that on the page is sometimes comforting, especially once I got to the end of this book. It was very comforting. But like in the beginning, I was like, oh, okay. Someone's in my walls. Someone is in my walls. Another reason I relate to the female main character so much is because she watches Criminal Minds, like, a lot. And same. Another thing I loved about this book that I think is also kind of hard to accomplish, especially in a contemporary romance novel, is to have multi-layered characters that aren't all good and aren't all bad. Like, they all have their moments of like making decisions or doing things that like negatively affect themselves and then also people around them, but still making them lovable and enjoyable characters. And I think that sometimes when people are writing their characters, they will try to make them morally gray in the beginning, and then they end up being like just a good person, or they will make them like sunshine and rainbows and like a little bit of a traumatic past or something like that, but then like nothing bad that they do has like consequences almost. Like, obviously it has consequences to a degree, but it never feels severe. Like, sometimes when I'm reading a romance novel and a character, like, there's a bit of a miscommunication or something like that, it almost feels like, oh, well, this will get solved and like this is fine and not strange at all. But for Passion Project, I really felt like all of the characters, if they reacted to another character's like messed up, like miscommunication, like I was talking about, and because of that, just never talk to that character again, it would have been like completely justified. But at the same time, they were willing to forgive and progress, and I really loved this book. I also think that the author very beautifully and accurately displayed grief and how it can be portrayed so differently through so many people. Like, there are some people that will crash and completely lose their spark for life, but then there are other people who will really live their life to the fullest but keep all the broken hearts like locked up in a box for no one else to see. And that doesn't mean that they're not still feeling that grief. It just means that they're better at hiding it. And I really liked that about this plot. And that was all the books that I finished in May, though I do have one book that I am currently reading called Violet Thistlethwaite is Not a Villain Anymore by Emily Krempholz, I think is how you pronounce it. I am currently 9% into this book, according to Fable, and I'm really enjoying it so far. Like, it's very cozy and it's fantasy, so I'm really liking it. I don't think I'm far enough in to like fully have a grasp and like opinions on the plot yet, but I feel like there are a lot of different ways that this story could go, potentially, and I'm very interested to see what the author does. And now for my June TBR. And actually, before I get started on my June TBR, I kind of wanted to tell you guys about something that I have coming up this month. A couple weeks from now, I am going to go to a local romantasy book event being hosted by a local indie bookstore, and there are going to be over 25 authors there, which sounds insane because it is. I am literally so excited for it. I am going to have so much fun personally. And I decided very early on that I wanted to read a couple of the author's books before going there so that I could like talk to them about it and encourage them or tell them how much I loved their books. And I also wanted to be able to bring those books and like get them signed by said authors. So I am really hoping to get through a lot of books this month because it's in the middle of the month. So I realistically only have a couple of weeks to read a bunch of books. And yes, I know that I don't have to read every single book by every single author before the event, but I would like to read at least the ones that I own before the event. So over half of the books from my June TBR list are going to be authors at this event. And honestly, the list that I have doesn't even include all of the books that I have of authors from this event. But I, again, am hopeful that I will be able to really get some reading in. So now, let's get into it. The first book on my June TBR, which should be a surprise to no one, is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. I've already talked about how much I am loving this series, so I know that I have to get around to reading this next book as soon as humanly possible. Next, we have The Mistake by L. Kennedy. I, just like almost the entire book community online, have become completely infatuated with the off-campus TV series that came out at like the middle of May, I want to say, and I have decided that I want to continue reading the series because I read the first book a while ago. I want to say in like 2024, maybe. And I didn't honestly really love that book, but now that I've watched the series and am reminded of all the characters and like have seen now certain characters from future books, I absolutely need to get back into it and to know their stories. Next up is Smoke and Scar by Gretchen Powell Fox. If you've watched my past reading recap and like TBR videos, then you'll know that I am more of a contemporary romance kind of girl, but I've been trying very desperately to dabble into more fantasy and that kind of thing, and I have never read a book where the girl is the fae and the guy is the human, and that's one of the tropes in this book. So I am very interested to see what that is going to look like and what all that will entail for the plot. Next is The Song of Sunrise by Monica J. Deloy. Along with not really being super into fantasy as a genre, not into it, just like I'm not as well versed as some other people are, I have also not read a lot, if any, books where there is a magical school. I think that is such a fun concept. I've seen like shows and that kind of thing with that concept before, but I've just never really read a lot in that very specific subgenre. So I'm very interested to see if I like it. Lastly, on my June TBR is Light Guard by Haley Turner. First of all, I want to talk about how absolutely beautiful and stunning this cover is. I think if nothing else, even if I end up hating this book, and I don't think I will, it's just so beautiful that I want to like display it on my shelves just like this. Like, it's so cute. Truthfully, for me, the cover is like half the battle when I'm trying to decide if I want to read a book or not. So this definitely has me hook, line, and sinker. Again, a book where the roles are kind of reversed and the girl has to be the one to protect the guy is just so fun to me. Like, I love a roles reversed type of genre. So like reverse Grumpy X Sunshine really does it for me. So I'm very excited to branch out to other reversed tropes. And that is my entire June TBR. And just like that, we are done with today's video. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.